Chapel Street, Australia's premier tourist shopping, fashion and partying precinct, and it's having a bit of an identity crisis. There's reports in the media, the crime is a little bit out of hand, a lot of theft, a lot of shoplifting, some shops being torched, drug use, and there's security people walking around, as you can see. The South Yarra end, the richer end. Apartments and houses here set you back millions and millions and millions of dollars. So when you hear about celebrities coming to Melbourne, you always hear them coming here. There is something going on here. There is a line, but this was an icon because this was always the more clubbier, grungier end. You know, this is an area that could be considered maybe a little bit of a hotbed at night. So yeah, if I'm going to say any side of Chapel Street needs a bit of work, it's probably this end. Just got asked why I was filming here. Anyway, let me go down here. You can just see how intensely rich and upmarket it gets here. Sorry. Pretty much everything here looks good. This place has a little bit of everything, really. This is Melbourne for you. This is the culture. Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Melbourne. I'm here on a very cloudy day. Not the best day to go out and record, but we're going to give it a go anyway. I'm here just on the banks of the Yarra River here, looking towards the CBD. Today, Chapel Street. You would have known about Chapel Street, even if you're not from Australia, you would have heard of Melbourne's Chapel Street, one of Australia's premier tourist shopping, fashion and partying precincts in Australia and known right around the world. It's super exciting, plenty of clubs, plenty of bars, pubs, restaurants. You've got your high fashion boutique stores that became synonymous with the area, and you also had the grungy side. Very close to the CBD, as you can tell, it's right here. It's one stretch of road that has had an absolute storied history, and we're going to talk today about how it is going at the moment. There's reports in the media that the crime is a little bit out of hand. It's starting to get a bit grungy. Ever since the pandemic, it's kind of struggled to get back on its feet 100%, and it's having a bit of an identity crisis. So we're going to find out today if that's true or whether it's a little bit exaggerated, and we're going to see what it's like today in 2026. So we're currently at the South Yarra end. I would say probably the fancier end, the richer end. We've got Richmond Church Street back up that way, and then along here it's the South Yarra area. So very close to Prahran and some of the other richest areas of Melbourne. Apartments and houses here set you back millions and millions and millions of dollars. You know, anything in a city is going to command those prices. You've still got your tram line here too. So basically we're just going to walk down, get a vibe of it, see what's really going on. I actually haven't walked down this street for quite some time. The last time I did was a very early Sunday morning. We're on a Wednesday afternoon at about lunchtime, so plenty of people about, plenty of things going on. And we'll talk about some of the issues that have been happening lately and see whether the media reports of it being in decline are actually correct. We'll try and make that opinion and form that opinion our own today. So I should say, lots and lots of apartment buildings going up on this side of the street. Hive of activity, lots of job sites and work sites, as we can see right here. Yeah, it's going to be another big apartment complex there, no doubt. So lots of boutique and high-end hotels at this end and restaurants. There used to be a restaurant here called Steer. I'm pretty sure it's still here, Steer Steakhouse. It's one of the best rated steaks in the world. So yeah, plenty of good restaurants and cafes and bars. Sam's Bar even. This is the Como end as well, where Channels 10, one of the big free-to-air TV stations, for many, many years, their news and their TV show, The Project, if you're an Australian, you'll know The Project. News and current affairs shows were recorded just up here. And this tower up here through the trees, we'll get a better look at it further up. It's actually the tallest tower outside of Melbourne CBD. So plenty going on this side of town. And I can smell, you know, all these different smells from restaurants. The Middle Eastern food over there, Mexican, got your normal chains like grilled and all that kind of stuff. So very community vibed around all the big apartment buildings here, servicing the people who live in these apartments. And it'll be lunch break time for a lot of the workers around here too, so lots going on. So obviously you got the tram here. Down the other side of these buildings here, very short walk to the metro train stops of South Yarra, Prahran and Windsor. Easy to get to from the city, get home in the afternoon, all that kind of stuff. So, well, even more towers going up. Wow. I don't know if I'm meant to be walking here. So, take a good look up here. So yeah, train station down that way, and a cluster of apartment buildings everywhere. And as you can see, that tower there. So we keep going up, tallest. Thai food, cocktails and curry. So yeah, I mean, pretty much anything you want around here, you can have. And as you can see, it's got that expensive vibe about it here. There's Network 10, Channel 10, like I was talking about earlier, where the project was filmed until it was axed a couple of years back. And then along here, we're getting up to Prahran Road. So some of the richest areas of Melbourne kind of connect off of this area here. Yeah, off these side streets here, plenty going on in terms of restaurants and cafes. Now this is kind of the spot, and this has always kind of been the spot for those boutique fashion outlets synonymous with Chapel Street. As you can see here, we're starting to get into kind of this fashion district area. So it was really, really iconic back in the day. We're just going to see if the shopping is still at the same level that it used to be. I'd say there'd be still plenty of tentpole stores here and flagship stores for some bigger outlets that you would know in the major shopping centres in Australia. See, this is the thing. As the years have gone on and Melbourne's gotten bigger, the shopping centres in the suburban areas have gotten bigger too. And what you used to only be able to come to Chapel Street for in terms of high-end, these days, you can pretty much go anywhere and get those. South Yarra station up there. So very celebrity, in the past at least, a very cool place for celebrities to kind of be seen and hang out here. So when you hear about celebrities coming to Melbourne, you always hear them coming here, whether it's for shopping or for clubbing or for going out to very fancy restaurants. This is what Chapel Street's all about. So still got Gorman, still got Country Road. There's a few boutique stores over there. So the media have been reporting a lot of theft, a lot of shoplifting. There's not really much being done about it, you know, which is sad for the shop owners here, obviously, and makes things very difficult. And there's, you know, security people walking around, as you can see, which is maybe the reason why there's security people is because there is a bit of a problem around here. But yeah, so you've got some, you know, some high-end stores over that way, mixed in and meshed in with some cafes and restaurants and the like. So still plenty going on in this part of town. Like, you know, just off these back streets, off on these side streets and back streets, high-priced real estate as well. So it's definitely still got a vibe. Some of the iconic stores and restaurants that were around, that I remember at least, are up near the Jam Factory, which we'll talk about shortly, which is getting redeveloped. So we've got Peter Alexander there. I mean, Mr. Zimmy. Still plenty of places here to shop. How many only just exist on Chapel? I'm not sure about. Still got that lure though, for sure. So Jam Factory up here is a massive shopping centre, kind of like the hub of Chapel Street over the years, a big cinema complex and places for the youth to be entertained. TGI Fridays, one of the first, or if not the first, TGI Fridays restaurant in Australia, definitely in Melbourne. And it was still around until recently, but Jam Factory has been kind of shut down and refurbished for quite some time now, so we'll walk past it now. It's still being refurbed. As you can see up here, it's still quite a lot to go. I feel like, you know, this is probably adding to the dramas maybe that Chapel is facing at the moment. While the Jam Factory is out of action, not acting as that anchor for people to come shop and hang out, especially families. This could be one of the reasons. But obviously it'll be on its way back soon. Soda Rock Diner was there. Look, I don't know if it's coming back or not, but this was an icon, an institution as well. We've been there a few times over the years. Every hour when a certain song would play, and I forget it now, somebody will tell me in the comments. You get all the waitresses and waiters dancing around on roller skates. Obviously just an old school American diner vibe. And yeah, it was cool. So I hope that comes back. I hope Soda Rock's on the way back. The sign's still there, so that's promising. But yeah, as you can see with the Jam Factory right now, yeah, watch this space. Spending a lot of money, pumping a lot of money into it. So I think once that's back, it will be a different story. So as you keep going down Chapel, you kind of go from, you know, the high end back that way, South Yarra vibes, to the next suburb down, which is Prahran, which is a very, very, very expensive and nice suburb of Melbourne as well. However, the side street's probably a bit nicer than the main street of Chapel these days. By all reports, is a bit dingy and stuff, but I don't know, so far so good. I feel like if we keep walking down this way though, we might see some dinginess start to appear, because this was always the more clubbier, grungier end. Hasn't taken me long to walk. It is a long street. You've got some brand new apartment towers there, and then you've got some government towers as well behind there that have been there for years and years and years and years. Bridie O'Reilly's, massive Irish pub that's quite well known. So yeah, as we go along, you know, it'll start to get a bit funkier, a bit edgier, I feel. Temperance Hotel. And a big hole in the ground up here. So I wonder if that's going to be something, and I don't know what it will be. And you know, you still got some fashion places just kind of dotted along here. More independent retailers a bit further down this end, which is good to see that there's a lot still around. And there's the towers across the street from funky cafes and fashion. You've got government towers. So this could be an extension here to more government housing. There's a big push in Melbourne to get more people in housing. So that's where we start to get into some clubs as well. So first time I came here when I was younger, we went out at night, obviously, as you do, quite late at night, and the place was pumping. Lines outside of every club, like Chaser's nightclub just there. There's a few more up here that I'll show you who were quite synonymous with Chapel Street in Melbourne, and really is the street for that kind of thing in Melbourne. I mean, obviously in the CBD there's a few as well, but really known on the map, put this street on the map back in the day. So like you go from high-end fashion, you know, which the celebs loved, and then you come down here later on, get a good meal at a really nice restaurant, and then go clubbing for the rest of the night there. Yeah, I mean, everything in one spot, really. You know, that's the draw card of Chapel. I feel like these days, whether it's just people got sick of it or people getting over it a little bit, or there's other places popping up, you know, High Street Armadale is one that springs to mind for fashion at least. Victor Churchill there, amazing butcher and restaurant, and world-leading like steak place. Really getting a name for itself, and it's not far from here. It could be that people are just, because as the city gets bigger, it's hard to get into with cars. As you can see, the traffic's pretty full on at any time of day or night. So there'd be a plethora of reasons. I think from the business end as well, I think I read that rents went up quite substantially over the pandemic when things were pretty tough. You know, I think everybody was just looking for coins, so those rents went up and they stayed up from what I could tell. So, you know, you're not enticing as many people into the area. So this is Commercial Road and Chapel Street, Prahran. More clubs up here, shopping centres obviously. You know, this is an area that could be considered maybe a little bit of a hotbed at night for some unsavoury types and characters. It's fine now, plenty of people around. I wouldn't say I've seen anything on this trip at least that makes the area scary in any way, but the media will have you feel like it is. As we'll keep going up this way. Jaywalk a little bit here. As people wait for trams on the corner of a road here. That actually felt like I'd nearly get run over. Just keeping in line with the rest of my videos of walking around cities and nearly getting run over. It's not as funny anymore. And one day I'm probably going to get hit. So yeah, around here you got, I guess, some more seedier kind of places just in general. I mean, still mixed in with some normal shops and things like that, obviously. But as I was saying before, as the media reported, just in the last couple of years especially, there's been so many incidents of crime reported, and going from arson, some shops being torched, including a dessert bar, weirdly. Those things are usually reserved for places like tobacco shops and nightclubs. There was a problem with the nightclub as well. So yeah, there's been some crime around, and just traders feeling and reporting to how they feel unsafe. And I can imagine when it's quiet on a weekend and things like this, when there's nothing going on, like the time I was here Sunday morning, particularly back at Commercial Road back there was no one around. Did have a bit of a sketchy vibe to it. You know, and of course there's drugs. That's kind of happened all over the city. Ever since the pandemic, there have been more outward displays of drug use. Is the only way I can describe it. You know, I can't even sugarcoat it, but there's been so many times we've been accosted, not just here, but like anywhere. And it's always random. I mean, even in the suburbs, it's just kind of, it's one of those scourges that just continues to kind of get worse and nobody really knows what to do about it. And plenty of different government attempts at interventions and, you know, tactics and things like that. But, you know, I feel like it's one of those problems that will probably never go away, unfortunately. And yeah, areas like this tend to draw people out because obviously the more people around, the more opportunity to be able to commit crimes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, look, not good, but I haven't seen anything today to worry about. I don't want these videos to kind of be sensationalist and try and say things like, this place has gotten so bad, it's so bad, like it's the worst thing ever. Like, there's good and bad everywhere, but you got to tell it like it is, right? You got to call it out when you see it. There is something going on here. There is a line. I don't know what that line is for. Doesn't look like a line for a typical 44-year-old guy would be interested in. That's good for them. So yeah, I mean, stretches on forever. The further you go down that way, you end up kind of in St Kilda, past Dandenong Road. And even if you want to think it's a little bit edgy or dodgy or whatever, this is Melbourne for you. This is the culture. This is what sets Melbourne apart from other cities. The eclecticism. Is that a word? Eclecticism? Eclecticness of a city? That'll do. I have you know I was very good at English at school. I was in double major English. There's a fact you didn't know and didn't want to know. But over the years that has lapsed. And now I struggle to help my kids with their homework. Just something I thought you should know about me as we go on. So, look, Prahran, this is High Street up here. Windsor is the next suburb along. Cool record shops, that's cool. Like wine bars and somewhere bars and flower shops and piercing places. Right next door to Prahran kebabs. So there are plenty of other strips in Melbourne that kind of can provide this as well. Like, whilst the street is still iconic and there's still a lot to it, I would suggest that perhaps it's not as unique as it once was. I mean, High Street, Northcote and Thornbury comes to mind as another massive long strip with tram and train access easily accessible from the city that you can go to for similar kind of vibes. I mean, probably not the clubs, not the club scenes, and probably a little bit more cheaper clothing stores and things like that. But I guess the point is, if you don't live around here and you have to commute, do you come here for anything all that unique anymore? Is probably, or artisan fries. Well, that's unique. And because Melbourne's so big now, you know, like, this is the other thing. There are precincts like this everywhere. So you could go any area of inner city Melbourne and be surprised by what you find. Fitzroy, Smith Street, Gertrude Street, Brunswick Street. I mean, I can just reel them off the top of my head. I can just reel them off all day long. And, you know, every one of them's good. Chocolate and gelato. Had a mate once who used to live up here right at the end of Dandenong Road. You know, it was pretty cool to live somewhere around here at the time. And I would say still cool as well. A bin truck shot for my son who loves his bin trucks. There you go, buddy. You're welcome. Arthur's Candy Shop. Oh, kids would want to come here. Betty's Burgers, I love Betty's Burgers too. I'll have to come back here with the children one day. Op shops, all that cool stuff. Record shops. So I guess the other thing that it's been accused of being is dirty. Well, nothing more dirty than the next place, the next street. And look, I'd say, obviously the streets, we'll go some side streets on the way back. And I'll show you a bit of a contrast of the area and some marvelous things you can find. Mr. Miyagi, that's cool. So it's one of those things, right? On your main roads, busy streets with a lot of people around, like, you're gonna have some trash around and stuff like that. But I haven't really seen anything that's telling me that it's not vacant. There's a vacant shop right there, but we'll walk through pretty much the whole street now, and I haven't seen anything overly vacant either. And this one's been leased, so that's going to be something soon enough. And this one's for leased, an old tobacco shop. So there could have been problems there, but we're getting more op shoppy and things like that up here. But all the way through, other than Jam Factory being a little bit desolate, yeah. So there's a few empty lots up here as we get closer to Windsor train station, and we're kind of about to hit Dandenong Road, I think. And look, is there increased crime? Sure. Yep. I guarantee there would be. Is there increased homeless people and drug-affected people around too? Yes, I would say there is. Is that happening everywhere in Melbourne? Yes, it is. As I said, today we haven't spotted anything yet. So we're at Windsor Station now. Like, it's just this part of town that's probably this end mostly than anything that probably needs a bit of a revamp. You got your train station here. Takes you back down into the city that way. All right, so we're pretty much at Dandenong Road now. So this is the end of the Chapel Street shopping precinct, at least, or the commercial zone of Chapel. So across Dandenong Road, Chapel Street does keep going for a couple more kilometres. I think it's like a 4-kilometre road stretch in total. Very residential once you get past Dandenong Road and then into suburbs such as St Kilda East. So yeah, if I'm going to say any side of Chapel Street needs a bit of work, it's probably this end. But I think that was always the case. I don't think that's been any different. I don't think that's ever been not the norm. Boom. We did it, guys. We made it through. Looking back down towards South Yarra Way as we cross. Sometimes you just need to cross the street to get a bit of a better vibe of what's actually going on here. More thrift type stores. I feel like at night this area might be a bit sketchy. Again though, all these streets off, some big price tags. So yeah, again, I would say during the day, absolutely no problems. Maybe at night, sketchiness with nightclubs and things like that. Feel like it was probably always that way anyway. Whether it's worse, better or not. I would say probably a little bit more edgier, a little bit more grittier, in line with a lot of other Melbourne areas since the pandemic. That would be my consensus. Always a vibe though in Melbourne, always a vibe. No matter where you go, there's a vibe. And some people looking at me strange. More out of curiosity, I think, than any real worry about being filmed. I try hard not to get in anybody's face, but no one seems to really care. A few looks as if to say, what are you doing? Watch it on YouTube, guys, you might be on it. I have to get like a Bozai jacket or something that advertises me so people can actually know where I am. Otherwise, I'll be lost forever, as a lot of other YouTube channels just get lost in the ether of the algorithm. Who knows what will happen with me? I will probably get lost in the algorithm. Okay, so some other areas of interest. back in Prahran and Lucky Cock. Lucky Cock. Heading back down towards Commercial Road now. I'm going to take you down Greville Street in Prahran, which I think is pretty cool and just shows you a bit of a contrast of what's going on here. Up here as well, another famous nightclub called Revolver. So I once remember, because I'm not a big clubbing guy or anything, haven't been for a very long time, probably have never really been, even as a teenager, or, you know, of course, 18 and over, of course. But Revolver, you know, famous in Melbourne, and I think it might have been Byron Cook, who I used to work with in radio, used to say that I think it was Chasers, Love Machine, a few other ones. And if you were still going and it was 8 in the morning, you could still go to Revolver. Oh, they've got a coffee bar too, I didn't even know. Wow. Yeah, so there's Revolver, everyone, if you ever wanted to know. And that's kind of where a lot of fun nights would have been had and not talked about for many, many years to come. So yeah, I want to take you down to Greville Street in Prahran now, which is just down here past the, I don't know, what do you call it? The clock tower? I don't know, what do you call it? Functions on Chapel. That'll do. Those people are still lining up for that place there. So yeah, obviously still unique opportunities for businesses in Chapel Street. But it's just that mix now, isn't it? You know, the cool kids mixed with the down and outs and everything in between. Sorry, didn't have it on camera, but oh, that's Greville. I want to go back down Greville. Just got asked by a drug-affected man while I was filming here. Didn't actually have the camera on though. Told him it was for YouTube and he gave me a thumbs up. So that was nice of him. And as a result, I missed my turn into Greville. He's just over there somewhere hiding behind the plant. Anyway, oh, there we go down here. So yeah, if we come down into Greville Street here, we've got, I know of at least one restaurant which is really cool called Entrecôte. And you can just see how intensely rich and upmarket it gets here. I mean, and it's so quiet in here. Like we literally just got off the main street there and it is so quiet. Everything gets very, very nice very quick. And this is what I wanted to show you, the contrast. So this is the main centre area of Prahran. And what a villagey vibe it is too. Entrecôte restaurant, French steakhouse is excellent. Used to be in South Yarra, Domain Road. One of my wife and I's favourites. And yeah, Angus and bone looks good too. Pretty much everything here looks good. And this takes you down to the Prahran station is literally just down the road here, so. Oh, sorry. And I just got bumped into, that was quite funny too. Yeah, so Entrecôte there, Entrecôte. And then, yeah. And there's the metro train coming in down there. And Grattan Street. Some funky cool stores around here. Cafes, nail shops. Everything you want in a nice little villagey type area. And this is what it's like in a lot of the streets. Well, this one's probably the standout, but this is what it's like in a lot of streets just off Chapel. So Chapel itself, for whatever reason, you know, being in the news for the wrong reasons, proximity to some very, very awesome things that are also happening right on the doorstep to the street. So still a feeder street too. I mean, huge population too in this area. Just so much going on. As we head back up to Chapel Street towards the South Yarra end, just did a bit of a loop around after Greville. That's a funky coloured looking building. I like that one. I gather this is what was there before this. A nice mural to times past, times gone by. So we'll come up to Commercial Road here, and then we'll jump back onto Chapel Street and see what else is kicking. So Commercial Road, plenty of activity going on down here. Takes you down to the Alfred Hospital down the end there. And then you've got Prahran Market here, which is very, very busy on a weekend. I didn't get this shot for my dad because he's allergic to crustaceans and shellfish and pretty much everything else on that list except for chips and oysters, perhaps. So you won't be going to Fat Boy Lobster Fish Market anytime soon, Dad. Sorry about that. The funny thing is, the ironic thing is, he loves fish and he loved seafood and he loved every kind of seafood. And then as he got older, he suddenly got allergic to it. And it was all over Red Rover for him when it came to seafood. But there's the Prahran Market. Piercing urge. And go and get some piercings and then go and have a juice. And go and get some health food. So tucked away in here, you don't notice it on the street level at all times, but there are definitely some pretty swanky restaurants around in this corner of town. You just kind of need to know where to go. And thank heavens for Google, hey? And randomly a bed shop. So again, last time I came here was on a Sunday morning, and it was pretty barren, pretty dicey. All right, and there's the tallest tower outside of the city. All right, so as we make our way back to the South Yarra end, close to the jam factory, yeah, I'm gonna say I could feel the decline a little bit in the Windsor side. As I said earlier, I feel like that's always been the case though. There's like nothing new for Chapel Street. In terms of like empty shops and some undesirables hanging around, that area was definitely probably the most like that of any side of Chapel. And I thought maybe that parking here was going to be expensive on the street, but there's actually 1 and 2p, 1 hour, 2 hour parking for free. That's good for the shops around here for sure. But obviously very well serviced by trams and trains. I mean, Jam Factory here, when it comes back, I think will be much better. And look, there's so much going on there, like that is going to be huge. So, I mean, that's going to really pump everything back into this area. And I think, you know, once this is all done here, you know, you're going to see some life back in this side of town. You really will. I mean, this is going to be a major, major complex. So, and it's just going to be helpful for all these other businesses along here that perhaps aren't doing as well as they used to. There's still a lot of fashion around here though. Right next to tattoo parlours. I read in the article that a lot of people are taking over like the empty spaces with things like gyms and health and well-being kind of centres. There's the city just through there. And again, as we make our way into the quite a bit more upmarket area of town here. So the one street, and you've got all these different vibes. Like, there is literally something here for everyone. From the person with no money to the person with all the money, you can find something on this street that will appeal to you. So I know I'm coming here on a busy day, midweek, during the afternoon, plenty of office people around and all that kind of stuff, but I am surprised how not declining it felt. Rough around the edges, sure. You can't say this area is like abandoned or vacant, overly vacant, or even scary, dangerous. Not at this time of the day. At night, I reckon down the other end of Windsor and Prahran, sure. Around the Commercial Road area, around where the place the guy asked me what I was filming for, sure. If that happened and there was nobody else around, and at night time, and maybe more of a clubbing scene going on, I can understand that this would be not the safest place to be in town. In terms of general safety, on any given day, generally, I'm gonna say it's okay. just got to know how to handle yourself in a big city as well. I mean, this is the other thing. If you leave people alone, they'll generally leave you alone. And the reports of I mean, there's bad things that happen all the time, everywhere, you know, and it's pretty rare that you're going to be part of something bad happening or you're going to be targeted. But having said that, you know, things can happen, but they can happen anywhere, right? I mean, you've got home invasions that happen in some of the most beautiful streets of Melbourne these days. You've got teenage attacks and gangs hanging around shopping centres that are full of families in suburbs that you wouldn't even consider to be a problem at all. You know, that's probably more a commentary on laws and things like that, more so than, you know, an area vibe. You got to remember too, like, we're talking like 5.5 million people in this city as well. You know, it's not all going to be sunshine and lollipops and roses, unfortunately. And on a world scale, in terms of crime and things like that, like, you know, if you put it up against American cities and all that kind of stuff, no contest. Safe as houses, I would suggest. Don't have the figures on me, don't quote me, but I'm sure that would be it. But, you know, people like to kind of judge Melbourne against Sydney and vice versa, and I would say maybe Sydney at the moment is probably the safer of the two. It's just the way it's been, but Melbourne was the safer of the two for a very long time, only 10 years ago. Surprising at how bustling it was, how packed it was, and how much great stuff there was around to see, basically. That guy waved to me. Sorry, man. And it's a good inner city vibe for a typical Australian city. So if you're from overseas, it gives you a good kind of grasp on what the inner areas of Melbourne are like, because as I said earlier, there are other streets that could probably compete for Chapel Street's iconic crown. And it didn't rain either, so I'm happy about that. I was a bit worried it was going to rain, but we got there in the end without even a drop, which was nice. All right, so let's try and, oh, nearly got ran over. Okay, nearly got ran over there. So the verdict, Windsor, grimy. Prahran, in between. South Yarra, pretty nice. Chapel Street, to a T. You know, the further you get up to Windsor, the more decline you can see. But still, just a mecca for the haves, the have-nots, and anybody in between. You can literally find something there that floats your boat. A tattoo parlour, a beauty parlour, a bar, a nightclub, a high street boutique upmarket fashion store, swanky upmarket restaurants right next door to op shops and grungy little pubs, guys. Well, great to have you. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you from somewhere else in Melbourne, no doubt, very, very soon.